to see. She's straight through. See if she can't get you logged in. Okay, yeah, I'm ready when you guys are. Rob can log in as he can, no?
Okay.
Bunch of people already. Hey, Carlos. Good afternoon, everyone. Logging in. I can see those numbers logging in. I hope you guys had a healthy lunch. Nelly, there's no deadline for the application. You can take your time. Don't feel rushed. There's no deadline for the application. Some of the stuff may take time, but we'll get into some more details with the application and stuff later on. Hi, Salou. The Barefoot Bar is in the room. All right. Good afternoon, Colleen. We've even have so is Barefoot Beach. It depends on what sand. That Barefoot in Placencia, that sand is so hot. I want wear slippers. Different kind of sand in Placencia than San Pedro or Kikaker. Ayano Cook from Serenian, right down the street. Just I'm just allowing a little bit more time to get in the room. People are still joining, logging in. Hope this afternoon session doesn't bore you after a meal and the warm weather. It's warm down in Placencia right now. I hope you don't fall asleep. But we'll try to keep it stimulant. We're going to do some more demonstrations and talk more about protocols. I got a call from a very close friend after this morning session. And I believe I got a little excited on the subject of people wearing masks. And I was reminded that, you know, mask wearing is not necessarily a habit yet. Proper mask wearing is not necessarily something where people have been formally trained. And I may have gotten carried away with my antics, and I apologize if I offended anyone. But I think what the friend reinforced is a big part of the purpose of the training and the purpose of Gold Standard, and that is to invest the time, to invest the energy into training and training and training and training. I certainly think it's one of the under allocated uh, areas of our business, food and beverage and hospitality in general. And there should be more opportunities. I think the return on investment is great. I think the area of job satisfaction, whether it's certification or whether it's just knowledge based, um, I think our teams have a greater degree of satisfaction and job pride and, you know, converting into performance, converting into customer care and so forth. So even with mask wearing, giving proper instruction all the time and reinforcing it, reminding, in the same way with hand washing, and we will discuss that a little bit more. Um, but that's what supervisors are for, and that's what management team is for. It's just reinforcing till we get those habits, till we gain those habits, till we realize how important it is, and understanding why we do it, how often we do it. So again, I really appreciate someone kind of helping me with constructive criticism. And I always welcome that. And investing in training is a huge priority here. Thank you, Ricardo. Well, I see Maruba is here in numbers. A lot of Maruba people. That's great. I think I've seen at least three Maruba ones coming in. But okay, we're kind of slowing down with the additions of people. We had over 200 people. Now we're at 178. If you can hear me good, I want to remind you that if you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see the chat icon. And then if you click on that little chat icon, the chat on the right-hand side of your screen will come up, and you'll be able to see a great number of people who are either saying, you know, good afternoon or sharing a message. I want to reiterate something I said this morning. And that is we have a broad spectrum of expertise that are in the room. And a lot of times when I'm sharing my slides for the presentation, I'm not able to read your questions. I'm not able to see your questions. So this is a great opportunity having, you know, 200 plus participants. It's a great opportunity for you to share your experience and your knowledge. I am very happy today. I have Chef Rob with us, and he's actually helped with redoing these guidelines for Gold Standard, along with Chef Jenny Steen. And I'm really excited. He's going to help. He's going to put some perspective. He's going to give us some of his experience. He's a veteran, international veteran, not just in Belize, but internationally. Before making Belize his home, he hailed from Europe and has kind of been all over the Caribbean. And I think he traded in that cold weather for a little bit more vitamin D and the sun that beats on us. So welcome, Chef Rob. Are you in the room, Chef Rob? Just give me a thumbs up. Yeah, great. He's here. Soon he's going to be sharing some stuff with us. But I'm going to switch over to my PowerPoint. So I'm going to share my screen again. I won't be able to see all of your comments and questions. But as we're moving along and someone may ask a question, we do have the BTB executive team in the room. They may be able to add some perspective and answer some questions, give us some more links to some of the things on their site. I can see Chef Rob there now. Excellent. He's on my screen. But also for you, experienced, well-trained, if you do have a comment, you can add to the discussion. Please share it with everyone. And whoever has a question, please make sure you ask that question, because your question is probably going to be somebody else's question. And it's just going to help. Paul from Elvy's Kitchen, welcome. You're the last chat I see, and now I'm going to share my screen. I won't be able to, again, see all of your questions, but at the end of the presentation, we will certainly go back and look at your questions moving forward. You guys can see his mic is muted, but you can see Chef Rob Pronk there in the room with us. But this afternoon's discussion is going to be on the enhanced safety protocols. Now, as I've said, a lot of us have either had food handler certification, probably multiple times for a lot of us, and or you have taken the ServSafe class every year, which is a great class. Chef Rob is an instructor. I've done instruction for ServSafe, and my business partner at the 501 Hub, Lorena, she has done, and she's a certified trainer. She has done ServSafe. And of course, Chef Bob, who used to live in Belize, he comes periodically, and he's done that for the industry. But it's a good certification to have. I think it represents our industry very well. And again, we're not going to focus on those areas. We're really going to look at the picture of change for us where COVID-19 is concerned. So always keep that in mind. I'm not here teaching you ServSafe today. We're here talking about our new movements, our new concerns, some of which, and a lot of them, are standards that we should have already. But there are new habits that we have to create, new protocols that we're putting in place, and hence the reason we're having this training offered by the Belize Tourist Board. Again, you saw this morning, just a little bit about myself. I actually moved to Belize in the 80s. I worked with the Ministry of Health. My first degree was in public health, and I had worked in a hospital before. I had worked for my university before and in health, and I made a paradigm shift after 2 years in Belize, and tourism was just so much fun. So I jumped into the tourism business, and I haven't looked back. More schooling, more training, more experience, living in San Pedro, Placencia, PG, Cayo, City, and really in tourism from kind of the bottom up, so to speak, starting from the bottom up. But again, just like this morning's objectives, we're here to build confidence in you, your clients, your team, your business partners, and it's so important that we kind of grab that concept with everything that we do when we're explaining things to our customers. There is an end goal, and the end goal is to keep them safe. The end goal is to facilitate a nice dining experience, and enjoying the food and enjoying the company and the art of conversation as they imbibe and commerce, right? So today we're going to discuss a little bit specifics about COVID-19, or the virus as it's called, SARS-CoV-2, and what's the difference between the two, understanding who can qualify for gold standard and why, and understand the importance of PPEs. I'm going to go over a little bit of that. I have obviously some strong feelings about our PPEs and how we use them and when we use them, etc. And then some of those specific modifications of service because of COVID-19. And again, we'll get into a little bit more of the signage and the training that would probably follow in your organization, right? So as I pointed out this morning, again, sometimes I repeat things because I don't know who's joining the class who may not have been here this morning. And each different class is kind of very different. And I want to make sure that I represent the Belize Tourist Board in the right light as well. Our director here in this opening letter of the guidelines and all the guidelines, she points to the numerous resources that were utilized to put the gold standard guidelines together. And remember this morning, I talked about all the different sectors of the tourism industry that have already taken similar training than this. And of course, hotels, hotel restaurants, tour operators, tour guides, car rental agencies, taxi drivers, the local domestic airlines, Tropicair, Maya Island Air. And of course, those different sectors, especially those are established and they have associations, they've even taken on more training through their professional affiliations and so forth. So BTB has complemented those areas. This morning, we talked about the checklist and the hygiene officer or the program manager. We talked about the daily enhanced cleaning and so forth. But I have a video right now I want to show. I hope you can hear it well. But I want to give you a little bit more background on COVID-19, how it started, a little bit about the pathogen, the germ itself, the virus. And I downloaded this video from World Health Organization a while back, and I've shared it with a number of colleagues like yourselves. And if anyone wants a copy of it, they can go searching on World Health Organization, or if you send me a little email, I'll just attach it. It downloads pretty easy, but it's a great introduction to COVID-19 and how the virus started and a little bit of the mechanics, basic technical information about the virus. So it's real kind of simple information, but I think it's really important so we understand how that virus works and how, the steps we take to combat it. So this video is only 5 minutes long. And again, if you want to use it for your staff and you want a copy, just let me know. I have it downloaded on my laptop and I can send it.
In December 2019, there was a cluster of pneumonia cases in the city of Wuhan in China. Some of the early cases had reported visiting or working in a seafood and live animal market in Wuhan. Investigations found that the disease was caused by a newly discovered coronavirus. The disease was subsequently named COVID-19. COVID-19 spread within China and to the rest of the world. On 30 January 2020, the World Health Organization declared the outbreak a public health emergency of international concern. In this video, we'll take a quick look at what is currently known about COVID-19. Keep in mind that this is a new disease, and what's known is rapidly evolving and might change in the future. So what is a coronavirus? Coronaviruses are a large group of viruses. They consist of a core of genetic material surrounded by a lipid envelope with protein spikes. This gives it the appearance of a crown. Crown in Latin is called corona, and that's how these viruses get their name. There are different types of coronaviruses that cause illness in animals and humans. In humans, coronaviruses can cause respiratory infections ranging from the common cold to more severe diseases. These include the severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus, first identified in China in 2003, the Middle East respiratory syndrome coronavirus that was first identified in Saudi Arabia in 2012, and SARS-CoV-2, the name of the virus that causes COVID-19 that was first reported in December 2019. So, where did this new virus come from? It's known that coronaviruses circulate in a range of animals. Sometimes these viruses can make the jump from animals to humans. This is called a spillover and could be due to a range of factors, such as mutations in the virus or increased contact between humans and animals. For example, MERS-CoV is known to be transmitted from camels, and SARS-CoV from civet cats. The animal reservoir of the new coronavirus is not known yet. How does the disease spread? The disease can spread from person to person through droplets, when an infected person releases those droplets through coughing, talking, or sneezing, for example, when close to another person. It can also spread when infected droplets land on objects, and when another person touches them and then touches their eyes, nose, or mouth. What are the symptoms? The incubation period, which is the time taken from exposure to the virus and development of symptoms, is on average 5 to 6 days, but can range from 1 to 14 days. There can be a range of symptoms, from very mild to severe. Some people may not develop symptoms. Common symptoms include fever, fatigue, and respiratory symptoms such as cough, sore throat, and shortness of breath. Some people reported loss of their sense of taste or smell, and some may develop a skin rash. In more severe cases, there could be pneumonia, organ failure, and sometimes death. About 80% of cases recover from the disease without needing special treatment. But there are some people who are at risk of serious illness. They include older people or people with underlying medical problems, such as chronic respiratory disease, obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, or cancer. How can we tell whether someone is infected? The infection is commonly diagnosed by a test called reverse transcriptase polymerase chain reaction, generally known as PCR. This test identifies the virus based on its genetic fingerprint. There's also a blood test that can check for antibodies against the virus, which may show that someone was infected in the past. How is it treated? The treatment for COVID-19 is mainly supportive care. Medicines against the virus are currently under investigation. How do we prevent transmission of the virus? There are a number of effective ways to prevent the spread of the disease. These include covering your mouth and nose when coughing or sneezing with a flexed elbow or tissue, and throwing the tissue in a closed bin immediately after use. Wash hands regularly with soap and water or an alcohol-based hand rub, maintaining at least 1 meter distance from people, and the appropriate use of masks and personal protective equipment, especially in health settings. It's important to stay home if you're feeling unwell and to call a hotline or your medical professional. But if you have a fever, cough, or difficulty breathing, seek medical care early and share your travel history or contact with someone unwell with your healthcare provider. In some areas, governments have implemented specific physical and social distancing measures to prevent the spread of the outbreak. It's important to follow their advice. Vaccines to prevent COVID-19 are currently under development, and scientists around the world are working hard to make this happen. That's a quick look at this emerging infectious disease. We're still learning about this virus every day, and what's known may change. So please, check the website below for the most up-to-date information. In December 29.
Okay. I hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, it is very basic, but it gives you kind of the backbone of a little bit about the virus. I think what's really, especially in the realm of our food and beverage sanitation area and cleaning and disinfecting, and we'll kind of cover that, is one thing about the envelope virus is that lipid covering. If you look at this picture, you can see the little crowns on the virus, and that's a magnified view of the virus. But that lipid protein, if just by using soap and water can damage that lipid protein, and it makes it more difficult for it to enter our cells. And it's something that I think we don't talk enough about. The crown itself, those little crowns that are all over the virus, they're kind of like a burger. They'll stick to our cells and they'll kind of cling on and they'll grab to our tissues and then, seek out cells that it can reproduce in. But by damaging the lipid protein, it kind of neutralizes, kind of castrates the virus itself. So the CDC still heavily recommends us using soap and water and washing our hands more frequently. And then of course, if we're sanitizing our hands and stuff, just using a little bit of hand lotion a little bit more than normal as well. And a lot of the hand sanitizers nowadays, you can get them with the aloe vera, highly recommended. They do help with your skin and your hands. Our hands have a special type of skin that do help prevent other infections and pathogens and germs from absorbing into our body. And by sanitizing our hands all the time and washing our hands all the time, we're kind of breaking down that protective oils and stuff. So the hand lotion, I know guys, you don't like to use it as much as the ladies, but I think it's really important right now, especially in our business, food and beverage business. We're always washing our hands, and we're always washing our hands, and it'd be good practice. So take care of your hands, neutralize the virus, and you know, we move forward. Here's another slide that kind of covers some of the symptoms. I got this from an Al Jazeera news agency that I read daily, and you know, they had this slide and other slides. You can go on so many websites now. CARPHA has a whole bunch. The Caribbean Public Health Agency. They have a bunch of these, and they have videos and stuff. What's important for us also to understand is that SARS-CoV-2 is the name of the virus. It's kind of like HIV and AIDS. The HIV is the virus that causes AIDS. So SARS-CoV-2 is the virus that causes COVID-19, right? And again, COVID-19 is just an abbreviation. So COVID-19 is the condition and the illness that we have, and SARS-CoV-2 is the name of that virus, and it's that envelope virus, right? And of course, not limited to, but you know, sporadic low-grade fevers, fatigue, tiredness, dry coughs, aches, pains, runny nose, sore throat, shortness of breath, even diarrhea. I have heard of a few cases in Belize where people, really the only signs and symptoms they had was diarrhea. Now, a lot of us think that COVID-19 is just a respiratory illness. It's actually a little bit more than that. The respiratory systems are very common as symptoms go, but it's also a blood thickener. It kind of makes our blood thicken up, and it causes clotting and coagulation and so forth. So for people who have circulatory predisposed, you know, whether it's diabetes or heart disease, high blood pressure, this is a very opportunistic virus, and it could compound those types of illnesses or ailments as well. The virus, they always say it's, you know, it's floating around in the air, and it's, you know, we're breathing that in. Yes, that's true. But what's really happening 80% of the time, I've read, 80% of the time, it's our hands. It's our hands that are putting that virus in contact, because we're always rubbing our eyes, you know, we're picking our nose, we're touching our mouth, whatever. But that virus may very well be spread by droplets that when we're talking and laughing and you know, coughing or whatever, but it's when our hands touch those surfaces that have been affected. So again, for our business, we're always touching surfaces. We're always touching things that other people have touched. We have to be extra careful, right? And we're gonna talk about that. This is a food code that we have had for oodles. When somebody is feeling ill, they're not well, you don't go to work, you call in sick, right? And you know, I just harped on the hand washing practices. I tell you what, to start out with, if you're reopening, make sure you're reminding, and your whole team is a part of that reminding cycle, because you touch one dish and you touch another dish, or you grab the phone and you do a credit card, you touch the credit card machine. whatever, we gotta wash our hands after. And then of course, sanitizing. So washing hands is really important. And there's a right way and a wrong way. I don't have any flour here right now, but I like to use flour as an example because it helps me show two examples in one. One is if I had flour in my hands and I was going to wash my hands, I would most certainly rinse my hands first, right? Of course. But a lot of times, because we have these liquid soaps nowadays, when I was younger, we never did, but because we have liquid soaps, we put the liquid soap on our hands, we smoosh it all around, get our hands gooey, then we rinse our hands. It's always better to rinse first, because if I had flour on my hands and that was the virus, the flour was the virus, I would be rinsing some of that virus off first and then put the soap on. I could then have a better chance of neutralizing and getting rid of more of the virus if I have it on my hand. So again, you rinse your hands, soap your hands, scrub your hands in between nails. And if you're somebody who's in the food and beverage business, you know you're supposed to have your nails down to your fingers anyways, no acrylics, none of that kind of stuff. But you got to make sure you get in and around, minimize jewelry. This type of ring is not acceptable. Only one banded ring is. But if you are washing your hands and you do have a ring, make sure that you're moving the ring and getting it properly soaped and rinsed, right? And if you don't have soap and water readily available, use the hand sanitizer. Make sure it's 70% alcohol and make sure it's an approved hand sanitizer like Travelers alcohol, right? So, and then of course, use your hand lotion on your hands afterwards. Okay, a little bit more about PPEs. If you're afraid, these are not recommended or mandatory issue, the shield. But if you have somebody who may be diabetic or underlying health conditions and they're working with you, you may want to recommend a shield for them, right? And they're not expensive. You can get these in a lot of places now. You can check your local pharmacy. I know Cellular World is carrying a lot of the PPEs I have. Early on, they brought in a bunch of PPEs. The mask is good. Wearing glasses, if you're somebody that has glasses, keep your glasses on. It's protecting your eyes, right? And of course, the mask. I was given a mask today. I got a cool mask, right? So this is the multi-layered mask. And you don't want a single layer. You want multiple layers. I like this one because this one has a little pocket on the inside. And then inside, it's 2 layers, but on the inside, I can put a piece of coffee filter in there and it gives me an extra layer. And coffee filters are pretty good at filtering stuff out. Again, if you have underlying health conditions or you have staff members, I would highly recommend you getting them this mask that's on the screen, and that's the N95 mask, like this one. And whenever I do any live lecturing or I'm in a meeting room, I'm going to wear this one just to protect myself, right? So really important to, get the right fit. As we talked about this morning, the nose mask, it's not working for us, guys. It's not working. The chin mask, even more so. So now, some people, because of the way their face is built and the way the mask is, it just doesn't work. And the more they talk, the more the mask drops down. So try to invest. If you're going to spend that $5 to $15 for a mask, make sure you get one that fits you. Another trick with some people, depending on the N95 mask, one of the things that I do, because I have a narrow face, one of the things I do is I take my mask and I turn it, right? I turn it, and what it does is it just tightens that little fit around my face, right? And it just makes it a little snugger. Now, you know, at the end of COVID-19, you can see how it's crisscrossed on both sides, but it's more snug now, right? So it's just another pointer. But at the end of COVID-19, we're gonna have to wear our masks backwards to make our ears go down a little lower. But moving forward, you know, that's just the mask coverings. Make sure it's comfortable. Does it restrict my breathing? They all do, I'm sure, but some are better than others. I think the N95 for me, especially when I'm talking too much, the N95 is better. The cloth ones, they're washable. You can remove the coffee filter and throw those away and cut another one. Coffee filters are really cheap, you know, and you got to make sure you're not touching the mask. You touch the mask, your hands are dirty. Now, in our restaurants, especially front of house, people are going to be watching you. You're touching that mask, and then you're going over and you're going to bring them another beer. You're going to bring them their food. They're going to notice that you touched that. So we've got to be very, very conscious. And then, you know, having proper signage. Again, I like this one. You know, Tom and Jerry, they're wearing their mask, you know, and the guy's saying 1 meter, you know, 1 meter. So, you know, having creative signs like that in your restaurant, I think are a little bit more appealing. And I think people will digest those better than some of those, you know, signs with the, you know, wear a mask, no entry, you know, that kind of stuff. They're a little hard. So I like these creative, you know, artsy kind of things. Here's another one, but be creative with your message if you can. And a lot of these things you can get right online. You can download it, you know, print it. And again, it's just that reminder, as I talked about this morning, it's just that reminder to wear the mask. And, you know, if you're seating somebody in your restaurant or inviting them in, ask them to wear that mask until they're seated. They get up to go to the restroom, please put your mask back on, right? So those are the kind of things that we talk about. Here's another example of social distancing, you know, at least one kangaroo length apart. You know, if you're the lazy lizard in Keycocker at the split there, you could, you know, most wish willies and iguanas they have out there are over 1 meter long with their tails. You could do one lazy lizard length apart, right? This is another one. This one reminds me of when your little kids come home from infant 1 or infant 2 and they've done the paint all over, you know, a board or something, and they bring it home. So, you know, wash your hands, they're dirty. And again, this is like a floor sticker. This would be something you would put on the floor to remind people if there's an entrance area or a waiting area, people are lined up in a queue. And then, you know, wearing gloves. This is an interesting topic because a lot of people wear gloves throughout the service cycle. And the CDC and of course ServSafe do not advocate for this. But I've noticed in some restaurants, people are wearing the same gloves throughout the whole cycle of service. So let's start real quick with this one. And then we're gonna chat with Chef Rob here in a minute. And hopefully I don't make any mistakes because he's gonna be the first one to point it out. One thing with Europeans, they don't beat around the bush. They tell you exactly what they think or what they see. I like that about them because there's no mysteries involved, right? But Chef Rob's like that. He's a great teacher and he's a good businessman. So here's a pair of gloves. I'm gonna put them on, and I wanna start by by just saying that, you know, before we put our gloves on, we need to sanitize or wash our hands. You've got to have clean hands before you put the gloves on, right? Okay. The other thing, sometimes these gloves are kind of sticky and you want to just give them a little rub. Whatever you do, don't blow into your gloves because your breath and your mouth could be dirty and you're just going to put germs inside your gloves. So you might want to flick it around, but you know, put your gloves on. Again, in ServSafe and CDC, they recommend that you wear gloves when you're handling anything you may obviously be allergic to, or you're handling poultry, or you're handling ready to eat food, right? That's normally the biggest reason. Or if you're doing garbage, you know, if you're the person assigned to doing garbage, you do that. But I'll give you a little demonstration on how. So you see my gloves, and you know they're clean. When I finish the demonstration, I'm gonna take them off the proper way for you and dispose of them. But you notice how these gloves are pretty clean. And if I was in a restaurant and I was bussing a table or I was serving a table, I may very well, you know, reach over and get, you know, get this bowl and you know, move this bowl over on my bus tray. And in the process of moving the bowl, I may, and cleaning other stuff off the table, I may have gotten germs on my gloves. And the thing is that you don't see germs. You might see mess, but I obviously have stuff on my gloves now. And then, you know, I bust my tray and then I come over with a cold drink and I serve you the drink and the germs kind of spread. Now, I put paint in this bowl and you can kind of see how the paint represents the germs. And the thing is, you don't see germs, but it's all over my gloves. And then, you know, I go in the back and my cell phone vibrates and, you know, I'm looking where my boss is. Then I grab my cell phone and this is my cell phone, right? It's a cool cell phone, but I've now got paint on my cell phone. And of course, you know, yeah, makakalo back when I don't man. Boss see me right now, yeah, reel up with me. Okay, good, bye. So I've got germs on my cell phone now, and I put my cell phone away, and you know, all of a sudden the chef say, hey, you know, table one, boom. I go up there and I grab dishes. Anyways, as you can see, my hands may be full of paint, but it's those germs that you don't see that really matter, right? And you're bussing and then you're serving food. You know, next thing you know is you know, I rub my face and I've got the germs on my face. I adjust my glasses and I've got the germs on my glasses now. And it's amazing if you study yourself or study someone else, just sit there and watch somebody serve. You'll see the mistakes we make over and over. And we've got to translate that with our staff, and we've got to understand that these gloves can be very deceiving. We think that our hands are clean because our hands are clean, but we've dirtied everything else. We've dirtied our cell phone. That's going to sit in my pocket. I'm going to pick it up later. So gloves can be very deceiving. In the regular cycle of service, I do not recommend wearing gloves unless we have got designated people. You know, again, not all of our restaurants are like that. But if you have a designated person that is only bussing, right? They're not pouring water. They're not doing anything in terms of service except bussing. That might be an exception. But really, ServSafe training, they say ready to eat food, you should wear gloves in preparation. That doesn't mean you're wearing gloves when you're taking the food to the table. right? So now we know my gloves are dirty. I've got to change my gloves. There's a right way and wrong way to do it, right? I'm going to take these off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn these gloves inside out. So I'm going to pinch right there in the palm of my hand, and I'm going to ease these gloves off, and they automatically turn inside out. Now the inside of my gloves should be clean because I sanitized my hands, right? Okay, so I'm not touching them with that hand. So I take the glove I just took off and I wrap it up into a ball into the other glove. And then I reach into this glove, into the clean side, and I do the same thing, right? So now I have my gloves inside out and I throw it away. That's the right way to put them on and take them off. And of course, that was the wrong way how to use the gloves. So be very, very careful with gloves. Again, wear your mask the right way. Make sure that mask fits. Make sure you have proper eyewear if you wear glasses. Clean your cell phone regularly, right? And you shouldn't have it at work anyways unless you're the boss, right? But set a good example. Here's ready to eat food, the proper way to use gloves in our setting. Before we get into this, I'm gonna invite Chef Rob. Chef Rob, I don't know if I got any of that paint on my face, but I did touch my face in the demonstration, and I'm gonna see if I definitely may have got some on my glasses. So Chef Rob, is your audio on? Can we hear you? Can you unmute your mic, or can BTB unmute Chef Rob's mic? I wanna get him kind of fired up on some questions that I have for him that he can share.
Okay, we have feedback.
Okay, we're getting feedback. What I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my volume down. How does that? Can you hear me, Rob?
I can hear you with a little bit delay, but hi, good afternoon, everybody.
Okay. Rob Prop, he's the seasoned veteran chef, Chef Rob Prop Well, Rob, why don't you tell us where you're at? What kind of rough environments do you live and work in? And...
I think you just called me old, but there's something else on season, no? Anyway, people that don't know me, I've been in Belize about 20 years, came down for Fort George many years ago, many moons ago. At the moment, I'm in Hopkins, have my own little hotel there and restaurant. I get involved in this session here and this whole golden standard for restaurant because as Jim knows, I was being pretty critical with BTB and with Jim about what was happening and how things were going. And the thing is, if you have a big mouth and people sometimes listen, but you get sucked in also, so that's good. Having said all of that, for me, the most important thing was that, of course, if we do golden standards like this, it has to be achievable for most of the people. It's one thing to do it for the big restaurants and that kind of places, but it's more important that everybody can learn from what we're doing and make sure we have safe operations. And that's why we're here. In terms of food safety, I don't think too much changed with COVID. Everybody's afraid of what we have to do and what we're going through, but everybody who had a responsible food operation already was fighting bacteria and viruses and etc. on a regular basis. We do that every day. There's nothing new there. The only thing what have changed that the virus now comes to our mouth. But in terms of cleaning and keep your kitchen clean, keep your food safe, there's nothing new there. And it doesn't matter if it's COVID or it's salmonella or any of that. I mean, all that stuff can kill you. If you don't handle food properly, if we don't do what we have to do properly, we can kill people. That's the bare reality. We might not always realize it, but it's the truth. So a lot of chefs, I talk to young chefs, talk about, well, what you want to do, what kind of food you want to do, and they come up with all kind of great ideas, but they forget the basic concept, safe food. We have to serve safe food, and now with COVID, we have to serve it safely as well, which is always the case, of course. safe food is number one. If you have your restaurant and people, if they don't get COVID, but just get the shits, sorry for my French, they won't come back either. We have to make sure our businesses are handled safely, our food is safe, people are happy with what we offer, but they should not get sick in any way or form. And that's what we always had to do already. So when Jim asked me to get involved here, I said, well, it's great. And I thought about it quite a lot, honestly, because I had my doubts of, will this work? How should it work? But there is nothing new. We have to do this all the time. We have to make sure we serve safe food all the time. And are the standards which B2B put up achievable? Yes, I think so. I think everybody can do it if we put our mind to it. It might be a little extra work involved. It might be a little extra documentation involved, but it's nothing new. Once again, there's nothing new. Jim.
Yeah, I'm not unmuted, so they can't hear me.
Okay.
Unless they can hear me through your mic. Yeah, okay, there we go. All right, thanks, BTV. They just unmuted me. Because I went on mute when you were talking,
okay.
They couldn't hear me, but I turned my volume down so there wasn't any feedback. Chef Rob and I are in a room about probably 12, 15 feet apart. We have a fan going. We have a window open and we have the AC blasting and a door open actually, so we can get good circulation in here. But as Rob says, he really feels strongly that, and I agree with him, that nothing really has changed in the food and beverage industry, with the exception of the mask and a few other, and the signage and so forth, because the standards that are set for food and beverage, especially from a ServSafe standpoint, HISEP standpoint, we should have been doing anyways. So that really brings me to my next question, Chef. Why should we apply for gold standard?
Mic is open? Yes, mic is open.
Yeah, your mic's on.
I think it makes sense to do so because, number one, as a responsible restaurant, you want to take care of the safety of your staff. And if you have a very small place, you work with your family, you surely want to take care of your family. That's number one. You want to make sure the people you work with, the people you care for are safe. Number two, you want to make sure that the people you serve are safe. You don't want people to get sick in your place because we're in business and business is hard enough as it is already. If you get the name that people get sick in your business, or even worse, get COVID in your business, you just can close your doors, forget about it. It's hard enough already, but if you don't take proper precaution, it's going to be very, very hard to stay in business. So those are the main reasons I think we should get into it.
And again, those standards were with us before COVID-19. You know, we all know that if a couple people, get bad belly at our restaurant, word's gonna spread, and we've got to really think about our safety. We've got to think about the safety of our customers.
Not too much changed, but the awareness of people is completely different now. I mean, even the non-believers, they say COVID doesn't exist and it's no wax and all that kind of stuff. I mean, if you were one of them, your market has changed because about 60-70% of the people who might be your clients do expect that you do this. So even if you don't believe it in yourself, if you want to stay in business, it's a smart business move to do this, to make sure your potential clients are happy.
Well, that kind of leads us to one of the things that BTV focuses on as well, besides the safety for all of us, is the marketing standpoint. So if you're a gold standard restaurant, and yes, I am somebody that cares about your safety protocols because I want to go to your restaurant, you advertising it has a value.
Absolutely, and as we know, this is not an obligatory standard apart from the hotels. This is a decision you make as a restaurant yourself. there's basically no expenses involved towards the B2B. I know a lot of people are afraid of that. The B2B doesn't charge for it. You might have to make some investment yourself, but I mean, that's, if you're a smart business owner, you make those investments anyway to keep your customers safe. So I would say, take 2 extra steps and get the marketing value out of it. Put that flag of Gold Standard on your door, and people feel safe to come to your place.
And who can qualify? You know, as we pointed out, we have a wide variety of restaurants, different sizes, different locations, different offerings. Who can qualify for Gold Standard?
Well, like I said earlier, when I got involved in this, and Jim didn't think any differently, I feel this has to be achievable for at least 80% of the restaurants in Belize. We have small mom and pops, we have bigger operations, but most of the restaurants are smaller ones. And if you took food safety and sanitation before already as your standard, and you make sure you did it right, you should have no problem to get these golden standards. If you didn't do it, maybe this is the time to look at your operations again and say, okay, how can I improve? What can I do better? Even if you don't go for the gold standard, this is the time. This is the time, because this COVID is around. People are very aware, and it is a good time to do it and look at your business critically.
So you're saying that, you know, really, if we're already keeping food safety standards, the cost should be minimal.
For what I've seen, yes. You might have to invest in maybe a hand washing station. You might have to invest in some masks and some face shields for your staff. But I don't think there should be major investments. It's more keeping some documentation on what you're doing, making sure you take your cleaning a bit more serious, and basically 90% there already. Yeah.
And you touched on something a little while ago, which I think is so important. The sentiment or the attitude, the idea of our customers. You know, there's 200 and some people in this room right now. They're probably equally mindful of walking into somebody's restaurant and, you know, picking things apart here and there, noticing things, because we're all in the business, and, you know, we've been trained to do it. And I think the sentiment of the average customer now has also changed.
Well, I mean, of course, I'm a restaurateur, but I'm a customer. Of course, I like to go out for dinner. I like to go out to places. At the moment, I'm very much aware of where I'm going for simple reasons. I don't want to get sick. Number 2, I had 7 months no income. I can't afford any medical bills. Quite simple. I can't afford to see a doctor right now. Yeah. So I see people advertising Halloween parties at this point in time, and I just shake my head and said, guys, what are you doing? I mean, I won't go for sure. I love a good party, but this point in time, I won't go.
Yeah, I've been invited to a few, and I'm just like, no need for a costume. I'll be right at home by myself.
Yep.
You know, yeah, that's very interesting, Rob. I'm gonna go to the screen share again, and we're getting into setting up our restaurant. And you have a very lovely restaurant, and I know that you were kind of involved in some renovations before COVID started, and hopefully you've been able to continue on that work. But tell me how you have kind of set up your restaurant here. It's showing somebody actually doing the measurements and stuff. But how have you changed your restaurant to kind of suit these new standards?
Well, I'm lucky enough. I'm directly at the ocean. I'm completely open air, so it's easier for me to set it up. I had plenty of space. I took out half of my seats because I'm not going to film soon anyway. That's another issue we're dealing with.
Okay.
So we keep. I did exactly the same thing. I took the measure tape, or I took a broomstick. Works fine too. Keep it in between your chairs, and you know what you're looking at, and keep your 6 foot at least between the tables.
Yeah.
So that's one of them. I did install an extra hand washing station in my restaurant. One for the staff. Luckily, I had the space to do so, and one for the guests.
Is it on the outside patio or kind of that interior close to the kitchen?
It's almost to the outside.
Okay,
Yeah.
So it's visible.
Yeah.
Yeah, accessible. And you're not open right now.
I'm not open right now.
Okay.
Opening hopefully by November again, but I don't see the business at the moment.
Yeah, so right now it's kind of easily done for those who are opening because business is still very slow. It's also a great opportunity for us to practice these protocols, especially from a service standpoint, that front of house.
Absolutely. I mean, before we open up, we're going to go to training with all the staff. Well, all the staff is going to be less, of course, sadly, but we make sure that everybody understands what we're going to and what we have to do. This is the time to do it.
And then I've noticed that a lot of our people in the culinary arts, kind of being a member of that WhatsApp group, I see so many people who are doing creative things, not being able to work, but we have Ava up north doing donuts, and those donuts are wickedly good, and Chef Awe and Kayo doing pizza and stuff, and I actually, not through you, but through another group, I've got a copy of something that you're doing.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the time to advertise, but I do start some cooking classes. For now, I'd only do it to groups people that know each other, families, people that work in the same office anyway. So I start doing cooking classes for small groups between 6 and 10 people, just to find something else in the market. Because let's face it, guys, the world has changed. The restaurant business has changed. Hospitality has changed. Nothing is going to be the same as it was before. We have to get very creative and see what we do and how we can survive. And it's not only in finding creative ideas on how we operate our business, it's also from the kitchen view, look at your menus. I mean, limit your menu items. It doesn't make sense at this point in time to go with menus with 40, 50 items and you don't get your customers, you have a lot of waste. It's survival of the fittest. And we really have to watch on how we operate and keep our costs low as well, apart from the sanitation. I mean, it's going to be hard enough to keep the doors open, and sadly, not everybody's going to make it.
Yeah, that is a sad thing. One of the great things about food and beverage is that level of creativity that has really taken a hold with food and the culinary arts on a whole. But I think from a business model, it's so important to use those same creative talents that you have in our business and, doing things different, whether it's cooking classes, whether, it's food expos in your respective area or destination, partnering with other people who may be struggling, sharing costs, and, just doing things that we wouldn't normally do in order to survive. Now, that's exceptionally important for those of us who have relied on tourists and kind of looking at the local market as the Brata, or vice versa. There's a lot of restaurants that thrive on the local market, and then when they get tourists, it's kind of like, the Brata. But
I hardly left Hopkins. I'm safe there. I have what I need. But not long ago, I went to Bombang and quickly to Belize City, and I'm kind of shocked to see all the people moving around, because we're not used to that anymore. And I think it's the same for San Pedro, Kikaker, Hopkins, Placencia. All those places that used to be the hotspots for tourism, they are really suffering right now. They're having it hard.
So true. I've worked in Placencia, Kikaker, and San Pedro, and they're vastly different places right now. And I think a lot of the country, because I live in Camalote, and I'm in Belmopan and stuff quite a bit, and Belize City. It really seems like business as usual, Rob, and it's not business as usual, especially those destinations you know, Hopkins, Placencia, and then our outer keys as well. You know, those people who are kind of very remote, whether you're in the jungle, it's a major shutdown. And for 6 months, we never really dreamed or envisioned this could happen to us.
Yep, and it ain't over yet. I mean, 6 months ago, I was pretty positive that by now, November, December, we should be back to semi-normal. But sadly, I don't see it happening. So I don't want to get off topic too much. We have to stay focused on what we're doing. But
well, we moved from distancing the tables to actually what should the table look like now? And of course, a lot of our industry people are saying, you know what, remove all those condiments, remove all those fancy decorations that we used to spend so much time and energy, and you know, the salt and pepper, the Maria Sharps, the hot mamas, you know, move that from the table and bring it to the table when people sit down. I think what we have to remember, and of course the menus, we always did that, but now we're doing it with everything. And again, I think the message there is that we've cleaned this table. There's nothing on this table that would have been touched by the person before.
Yep. In the past, we did white linen service, especially at night. I changed my tabletops to hardwood tabletops, easy to clean. You're getting away from the tablecloth for now. Once again, nothing else on the table before the guest arrives. When they come in, we can set it salt and pepper if needed and stuff on the table, but it should be clean when they walk in. It makes it less sexy to walk into a restaurant, but it is what it is.
Yeah. I think what we also have to realize that you're removing the roll-ups aren't sitting there, right? The roll-ups should be sitting in a container that's covered and sealed. The flowers, there's nothing wrong with having flowers on your table, but the flower vase maybe should be sanitized and set on a place or a section in your restaurant where that designates that anything in that area is sanitized. Salt and pepper shakers, pepper sauces, you know, whatever type of condiments you have on your table, there should be an area where the bus puts them to be sanitized, and of course, an area where they were already sanitized, and then you can bring them to the table when your customers have been seated.
Basically, anything that can be contaminated, don't put it on the table yet. Wait.
Right. Anything that can be, and that's anything we put on the table, right? Okay. And of course, you know, spacing out your tables and doing proper seating logs. Rob, do you guys naturally do seating logs at your restaurant, or do you think it's too small that you don't need to do it?
We did not do it in the past. We're going to do it now. We also have a small hotel, so hotel guests coming in, if any, we're going to assign them to a special table that's going to be the table for the rest of their stay. And then we keep a section for the walk-ins, so we keep a little separation between the people that actually stay in the hotel and the walk-ins.
Okay, very good. So you're separating your guests, your tourists, from what other walk-in business that you have. And then for your customers, because you're a hotel and restaurant, you're gonna let your customers know that this is your table while you're here. You know, we're not gonna seat anyone here. Interesting, great. Some people have asked me about putting reserve signs. I think if you've sanitized an area and you have a reservation for somebody, you can certainly set it up. But I think in a closed setting restaurant, that might not be real prudent. Your restaurant, I think you could easily get away with it because it's open air. You know, you have seaters, you have fans there.
Yeah, well, nothing changes if people.
Fans there. Yeah,
I have a delay. Can you hear me? If people make reservations at my place, they normally, people that have been there before, ask for a specific table. So, I mean, yes, we reserve the table, make sure they get the table that they want. So, yes, you have to put a little sign on. That's, I don't see a big issue there.
Yeah, are you hearing me okay?
Yeah, I do. Heavy delay.
What's that?
Heavy delay.
Oh, it's delayed? Okay. All right. This is just a sanitation station. It could look like some of our local restaurants, but it's actually in the Coxcomb. And you can see that Audubon did some really nice signage there that speaks to washing your hands, socially distancing, and wearing a mask. But Rob, they talk about all the fancy technology that's going around nowadays. So, getting rid of menus and stuff like that, putting it online. Again, to me, some of the technology is just having a chalkboard, or having your waiter or waitress recite the menu for the day. And of course, if you've got a huge menu, it might not work, but having a downloadable app, a QR code. For those who don't know what a QR code is, it's that little fancy looking kind of electronic thing. Most of our phones have scanners, and for free you can go into qrcode.com or whatever, and you can make a QR code that's associated with your menu. And if somebody scans your QR code, boom, the file of your menu will download. So that's what that is. Again, some people might think that's high tech. Some people may think it's kind of basic, but you can attach your menus to your Facebook pages and or WhatsApp it to your customers. There's a lot of different areas, a lot of different areas that you can kind of go, high tech or low tech, very practical. Now, one of the things in the gold standard, Rob, are the health checks. And I know you have strong opinions about that. So no sense in me talking about it. Why don't you share with us what the gold standards are, and what and why we should be doing some of this stuff?
Well, we had some heavy discussion about it. What we should do, what we shouldn't do. What is an invasion of privacy, what is not, because there's very, very strong sentiments about this whole COVID situation. I think the way we put it now, that taking temperature of a guest is not obliged, it's not obligatory. You can do it, it's a good thing to do, maybe. We do it in the hotel, but for walk-ins, we're not going to do it. It is good if you take reservations to have the name of the guest anyway. Ask them for the phone number. Number one, you can follow up and check how the dinner was if you have the time. Number two, if there's an outbreak, it's easy for Ministry of Health to trace down who your guests were, so we can trace down where the problem is. Hand sanitizer, yes, like we talked about the sanitation stations already, so it should be available. It should be there for your staff and for your guests. Welcoming guests. In our restaurant, I can speak for that. I mean, especially with repeat guests, we very used to shaking hands, hugging people. They like friends, but we have to stay away from that. So a little sign at your door, sorry, we don't shake hands, no offense, something like it, so people know already. It's we have to get used to it. It's different.
Yeah, I kind of like that little peripheral bow, a sign of respect, a bow of the head. It's humble, but there is a new normal now. And of course, if they're return customers, they're very close. Some people are doing the elbow bump, with closer people, but I think that may be a bit too familiar with the average customer. And I think one of the things we have to talk about is the fact that not all of our customers are prescribing to the same culture of thought that we are. And when I say we, I'm specifically talking about, food and beverage people. And because already or should have a very high, we already or should have standard of sanitation and so forth. Personal hygiene and so forth.
The shaking hands thing.
The shaking hands thing. They don't know what I have on my hands, and I certainly don't know. I may have lost internet there. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Well,
they may not understand that we're dealing with a germ warfare all the time in our business, and it's a great opportunity now not to shake hands.
Well, at the end of the day, you want to think about your family. You want to make sure when you go home, you're safe. You don't contaminate people with any disease, including COVID. So, I mean, think about your family. That's for me the most important thing.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Our family is, what are we bringing home and stuff. And for those people who are still in party mode, as you said, it really needs to be a paradigm shift in our thought process right now. Be patient. There's going to be plenty of parties in our future, but socially distanced. I participated in somebody's virtual DJ party one night, and I'm thinking, okay, I don't think I'll do it again because my computer is not as, the sound didn't come through. I think if I had a better sound system at home, I could have cranked it up, had a few drinks. But that kind of reminds me, Rob, of the COVID test that you can do at home now. You heard about it?
No, educate me.
No?
No.
No. You take a glass of wine and you smell it, right? And if you smell it, you're pretty good. But you then taste it, and if you taste it, okay, you're probably pretty good. The only problem is, like me last night, is I repeated the test too many times.
I've been self-testing quite a lot without even knowing it. I mean.
All right, here we've kind of moved on to those dreaded log sheets that we have, and these are the examples that you'll see on the BTB website when you download the application and stuff. These resources are available. But I think it's really important to talk about the options that you have when it comes to all these different logs and the information that you're now required to have for your restaurant. You want to give a little perspective, Rob, in terms of your opinion. What are you doing at your hotel and restaurant with regards to the gold standards that you're already achieved?
Well, cleaning logs in any restaurant is a good idea anyway. So you want to keep track on when your place is properly cleaned. It's in a little bit bigger operation. It's a way to track your staff if they're doing the right thing. If they put a signature there, you can assume that it's actually done. So cleaning logs for the kitchen in between meal periods is a good idea. Dining room, the same thing. Bathrooms, have a little spreadsheet hanging there. When whoever goes in there cleans the bathroom, let them sign it off. It's a check for you, so you'll walk in there, you have to be there anyway, you can see that's being done. And it's also a check for your guests to know that you take it serious. It doesn't cost anything, a sheet of paper and a pen. I mean, so it's nothing extra. Deep cleaning logs, I mean, some things you clean every 2 weeks, some things every once a month, apart from the daily cleaning, of course. It makes sense to keep track of it. So why not document it and make sure you can go back instead of relying on your brain, which these days you get a little bit mushy anyway. So keeping track of your staff hours, everybody's doing that anyway. I mean, you have your time logging sheet. It might be a time clock or just a little sheet what they sign into. So that happened already because you want to know when your staff was there and what you have to pay them. Nothing new there. So basically, again, nothing new in what's required now for these golden standards.
Yeah, I totally agree. And there are going to be those businesses that are going to make their own log sheets and, make their own cleaning logs and health check logs and all of that. But really, just a binder with paper, a ledger sheet. You could do so much on one piece of paper for, your restaurant, recording everything. I do think that especially for cleaning, it's so critical to have a check sheet because, I need to be reminded to clean the handles on the sink. I need to be reminded to clean out the trash bins. I need to be reminded to sanitize the prep sink, that the chicken's been in part of the day. there's a lot of things, especially back of house in that kitchen, that there's a lot of details, you know, just cleaning out your microwave and that having that checklist is really going to help with the efficiency and
Right.
stuff.
I think it's a great time and a great opportunity to look at your operations again, because we all know what to do. I mean, it's not that we don't know what to do, but sometimes we get a little bit sloppy in what we're doing. We take things for granted, and this is a time to look at it again. Okay, but this needs extra attention. This needs extra cleaning. This is a table which we touch 1,000 times per meal period, and I'm not accelerating. I mean, that probably happens. This is something we hardly touch, so we don't have to focus on that as much. We still have to do it, but not every time. So it's just looking at it again, and common sense is key there. I mean, look at your operation from a different view. Look at you walk in for the first time and say, okay, how can we do this better? How can we do it safer? How can we approach it differently? It's an opportunity. And I had to do the same thing for my business. I've been in hospitality for way too long, maybe. And some things you remember all the time and some things you forget. And it opened your eyes again to see what we have to do. Oh, we're getting some water, thank you.
Thanks, Teresita. She brought us water. What a great coworker. Listen, Rob, this is something when I teach in person, I really like to cover these things, because when we're wearing a mask, and again, you know, I'll wear my new one that Glenda gave me. When we're wearing a mask, obviously my speech is muffled. But secondly, especially for us older guys, our hearing.
You said us.
Hey, we're close to the same age here, buddy. But you know, we're just getting warmed up, Rob. I know that. But the thing is that my voice is muffled. And then if you look around all your friends and all your colleagues, we all have different accents. And we've got to learn to speak clearly to our customers, because one of the things we would never admit, except somebody like me that has a hearing problem anyways, is that we read lips more than we care to admit or realize. And with the mask, we no longer have that. So from a service perspective, it's so important to make sure that we hear clearly. One of the things I've learned throughout my time in hospitality in Belize is that, especially with foreigners, because we might have an accent, they don't understand this as well. But because we're used to so many accents, and even the tourist accents that are a variety, we understand them. So it's really important for those of us who are dealing with customers, if they're foreigners, making sure that we repeat ourselves, you know, in a very courteous, understanding way, maybe rephrasing something so they'll catch the two phrases and kind of put it together. And secondly, for older customers, now that we're wearing a mask, and eye contact is so important. You know, listen, we talk with our hands. We have the facial expressions, which are now being hidden. Use your eyes. You know, use those eyebrows and bounce them, and, you know, be descriptive. It's a fun part of our business, the whole social, you know, just hearing Rob a minute ago saying, you know, with his customers, they were always hugging, they were always shaking hands. There's these new protocols, but be cognizant that we don't hear as well. Speak clearly, ask people if they need assistance. When they walk in your restaurant, go at them. There may be some new things that they're not used to. They may not be comfortable. Make them feel comfortable. Let them see it in your eyes, you know.
What we're missing with the mask is the smile, and the smile is so very important, because that's a way of communication, facial expression. So tone of voice, the way you talk to people. Yes, don't talk funny like me, but I can't change it after so many years. But I mean, your tone of voice, how you approach people, your whole body language is more important than ever.
I'm doing some work at Naya now. That's where Chef Rob and I are right now. But they really have, I don't know if you noticed it, but they really have done something really interesting and commendable. all the front line employees, front of house, they all have name tags, and they're very large name tags. They're like my beautiful cardboard cell phone, and they have these name tags, and it has a picture of them without a mask.
Makes sense.
And a smile. And you said it. Everybody's got to have a smile on their picture. And you said it. It hides that smile, and I just think that's commendable. And I don't think they would mind if other people utilize that idea. If you can utilize that technology wherever you're from. But right now that's our substitute. We're showing our face. We've got these masks on, and we're showing our face and with our name tag. Explain, when we're greeting customers, welcoming them into our restaurant, making sure that we take control from the beginning. Please leave your mask on until you're seated. Is there somewhere special? This seating over here is reserved, like Chef Rob's restaurant. Explain the procedures. If you need hand sanitizer, we have it over there, and we also have the bathroom over there for washing your hands with soap and water, single use, paper towels and so forth. So, plan it out, make sure everybody knows what to expect, right? Just manage the customer's expectations. If anyone's feeling a little strange, they're not used to all the precautions that we're taking, talk to them, let them know that this is what our country has been focused on. Our public health officials have been advising us to do, our government officials. We're doing this to keep us safe, to keep you safe, and to kind of get back to normal. Now, there's a lot of resources, Rob, on different websites for protocols. If you want to know what other parts of our industry are doing, the Ministry of Tourism has a reimagined brochure. It's quite lengthy, and it covers everything from the port to the airport, parks and so forth, and there are basic protocols. For those Belizeans who are repatriating, I don't think you have to fill out any forms anymore, but there's a website there for the repatriation. And then BTV's website, which is hosting all of these videos, everything is recorded. And of course, all the applications and the checklists and templates and so forth are on the BTV website. And then I encourage people, I've been all over these websites for all these months now, but World Health Organization, CARPA, the Caribbean Health Agency, they have a lot of free downloads and so forth. So there's a lot of good resources there. We need to collect some of the information. You're asking about table settings and stuff like that, the number of guests in the party. All this information, if needed, could be utilized by public health for contact tracing, right? God forbid any of your restaurants, are going to be shut down or checked for testing the staff and stuff like that. But there's a reason for the things that our public health officials are asking us to do, right? So it's really important to adhere to the protocols. Here, we were talking about questions, talking to staff and, their practices outside of work and so forth. Here's a list of questions. Do you currently have any signs and symptoms? No, I don't. Okay, we did the check. You're good. You haven't had any sore throat, no body aches. No. Have you had any symptoms? Respiratory, cough, nasal? Have you traveled within 14 days? These are the kind of questions that they're asking at the international airports, that they're asking at the international other businesses. And remember, gold standard is a standard, and I think it's achievable for all of us. If you want to add steps, to your protocols, feel free, add that and, improve your standard even more. But these are general guidelines that are required for gold standard. Sorry, my throat got dry there. Fortunately, I don't have a dry cough. And again, we were talking, Rob, we were talking about promoting our gold standard. Are you muted? Am I?
I should be here. So your question was?
Yeah, sorry. We were talking about publicizing, you know, let's say our restaurant gets gold standard certified and, you know, promoting it.
Absolutely. I mean, and then most of our restaurants, they have Facebook pages, they have Instagram, we have websites. I mean, you can print out a certificate, hang it at your door. So let people know that you did everything you could do within reason to keep your guests safe. It's a no-brainer to me.
And certainly if they have any insight as to gold standard or to protocols like this, they're going to see it in what we do. They're going to see it on how we perform. They're going to see it over and over. And you know, they walk in and they see some of the signage and so forth. It's going to be really helpful. And again, these are just the nine points and stuff from the checklist. But that's kind of it. Rob, we've got 238 people in the room, and you know, as they say, hand washing is so hot right now.
It always has been. Always has been.
It's really hot right now.
Yeah.
So we're going to go back to the room, and hopefully we have questions on the chat. You can't see the PowerPoint anymore, is that right?
I see you.
Okay, you can see me? All right, here we go. Let's hide me. Let's look through this list. I'm kind of going up a little bit. Good point, Chef. Okay, people are talking with the employee time book work. Yes, the employee time book. Chef Rob said that. You know, your employee time book is fine. Gloves. Yeah, okay. So I remember seeing that question. Let's move down here a little bit. Is 6 feet between chairs or between tables? I would kind of go between chairs. Yeah, you want to make it safe.
Yep.
You know, there's a private message here. I think defining what you want 6 feet between is important. Feet between tables, different than feet between chairs. Definitely chairs. Thank you very much for pointing that out. You want as much space because, you know, imagine if it was tables, you know, you push back in your chair from your table and obviously you're invading the space to the person next to you or behind you. Okay, there's a happy lobster here. Let's see if I can get through that question. So no. Someone said no nice and nasty. No nice and nasty places to eat right now. Sorry about that, William and Jennifer. Let's see, Kikaker, we don't mix front of house and back of house. The front of house goes in through the front door, back of house staff go in. There you go. That's okay. So they're using different entrances. Rob, they're really trying to separate. The same with receiving produce, the back door to the house, unboxing and sanitizing everything. Very good point. Sanitizing all of your supplies before they enter. That is in the guidelines, the restaurant guidelines. Excellent points, Ricard. Thank you very much, everyone. Martin Act, okay. Martin, he's showing off his chocolate again. Send me a candy bar, Martin. I'm going to come visit you. This is the last time. I hope not, but very last time in 2 years more. I hope I have to look for a long haul. Okay, what is this?
Yeah, so Aaron
Aaron is just saying he thinks it's going to last a long time. You're right. It's not going away tomorrow. That's for sure. So we got to get used to it and operate safely. At our restaurant, the guests open to sit anywhere. We use signs to help maintain social distancing. So once one table is occupied, then automatically table 2 is closed. Very good, good point. So leave it open as long as you have the space, and then as somebody sits down, you close off a table. That's a very good suggestion. Why aim at the head of the temperature check? It can be done on the chest, the body. It is not good to do it on the head. Someone said it's not good to do the check on the head. I have been all over WHO and CDC, and it is okay. If the chest is open, yes, you could do it there, or you could do it behind the ear. But when you use extremities like hands and stuff that some people have been doing, the temperature actually naturally reduces on the extremities. But a lot of people, you know, don't want that thing pointing at their chest, but the head has been the recommended, more accurate. I guess the chest would probably be accurate as well. I heard some stores in Belize City are doing the wrist. Yeah, you don't want to do the wrist. I asked at a hotel and anyone else and said no, only on the head. Yeah, recommended on the head or behind the ear. That's pretty much the information I've got. Another question, but media, both local and international, focus on the head. Okay, I think they're having a discussion there. Do cooks need to wear a mask while cooking, Chef Rob?
Hey. Yes, I have to say yes.
Yes.
But I'm behind the stove myself. I mean, it's hard if you have to taste some stuff, but the general rule should be yes, you should wear a mask.
Yeah, and what about a face screen instead of a mask?
Doesn't really work.
It doesn't work.
Doesn't really work.
What if you're the only one on the hotline?
Well, I mean, there's always a slight chance that you a carrier, and if you, through your breathing, bring it to the place, then people get contaminated. So yes, the answer remains yes. I'm not a big fan. I'm not lying.
Yeah.
I have to say yes.
Yeah, I've never been on a hotline in any of the restaurants I've ever been in, and it's been cold. So I think the risk is very, very low. There's a question here. Will BTB do an inspection before issuing the certificate? No, it's not likely. They are incredibly busy, Jacina, and we've got to remember that when our industry, our tourism sector shut down, they unfortunately lost the majority of their staff as well. And they have a lot of technical staff in there that are multitasking, doing a lot of different jobs. I don't think we're going to be getting inspections until after the new year. That's just my perspective, casual conversations that I've had with their team. But the way it goes is you do your application, take the photos, do the logs, show BTB that you're fulfilling the requirements set out in the gold standard, send in that application. Hopefully within a week you get a response, you get your certificate, and you blaze forward doing the promotion, living the practice every single day.
Jim, can I add to that? I mean,
yeah.
This is not to please the BTB. You don't have to get your golden standards. It's a choice you make. If you do it for your own operations to make sure that you do the right thing and you look at your place critically and have the safest operation possible. So don't do it just to please the BTB. It won't help you, and it won't help your staff or anybody.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Thank you. There's a comment here with the understanding that soap and water. There's a comment here with the understanding that soap is the best option. Eco-friendly has a solution. Has a range of sprays and so forth. Okay, best practices for small kitchens with 3 people cooking, social distancing. 3 people in the kitchen, a very small kitchen, Rob.
You know, the perfect world and there's the less perfect world. There's no way that we can all of a sudden change our kitchen, make our kitchen bigger, all that kind of stuff. We just have to be aware and do the best thing we can. Think about what you do. Once again, you want to go home at the end of the day, be safe, and come home safe to your family. So keep that in mind all the time. And then so yeah, to answer the question one more time,
It's difficult in
there's
the
going to be
kitchen.
situations. There's going to be situations that you cannot keep your 6 food. It's impossible. But try to be, and that's where the mask comes in, and that's where your face shield comes in.
Yeah. It is difficult. You know, every kitchen is different. And, you know, very difficult. Somebody mentioned the comment I made about money this morning and keeping dirty money in one drawer. And, you know, some people can't afford that and so forth. I totally agree. Just, you know, when it comes to handling money, sanitize your hands, right? You're handling somebody's credit card, sanitize your hands.
Yep. Well, you have to specify what dirty money is now. But anyway, that's another discussion.
I got a private message about repeating the PPEs when you're in the kitchen. You want to repeat that?
Sorry, I had a delay. Can you repeat?
Yeah, the PPEs when you're in the kitchen, just repeat what we should be using in the kitchen. From the gloves to, you know, why use the gloves, where use the gloves, and the mask, eyewear.
Mask, if possible, all the time. Face shields make a lot of sense because I even had a discussion with Chef Jenny about it. People get tired of breathing and stuff, and they do bring the mask down. If you have your face shield, you still have your extra layer of protection. So it makes sense to do so. Gloves, very discussable. Gloves can be a very false indication of safety. I mean, if you don't wash your hands, if you wear gloves and you don't wash them or you don't change them often enough, then it's better not to wear them. Just wear them specifically when you cleaning fish, when you touch ready to serve food, that kind of stuff, yes. But have one set of gloves during the whole meal period just beats its purpose completely.
Yeah, there's a private a message here. Best practices in taking dirty dishes and utensils to the back of the wash-up area. I know what a lot of restaurants are doing now is having a pre-soak before they actually go into the regular mix. So if you're bussing tables, I think you pretty much do it the same way you used to. And then before you go into the wash, you have a pre-soak. Kind of the standard for silverware, right? There's those pre-soak tubs, and I would have some type of disinfectant in those. And then the rule of thumb is that you change those regularly as they get soiled. So when you go into the kitchen and you scrape, you put that in a pre-soak, and then who's ever washing dishes would be safer in taking those dishes out and then washing them through the normal wash system.
Jim, dishwashing section is a very often forgotten section. It's not the most shiny one, but it's probably the most important in this case, the most important section of the kitchen. These guys have the highest, apart from your waiters who have direct contact with guests, but the people that clean up the dirt from other people, they have to be very well protected. They have to wear gloves, change them on a regular basis. If you scrape off your plates and do the first soaking, try to do that in batches. Then I will start washing, clean your gloves and do it again. But make sure they have enough gloves, make sure they have masks, make sure they have face shields, make sure they have proper aprons to protect themselves. These people have to be protected really well. This is how I started in the industry. This is how I came into it. And we often forget the people who bust their butts cleaning dishes back there. We have to take care of them. Please don't forget them.
And as you said, if you're using reusable gloves, you want to make sure you prevent cross-contamination from handling the dirty dishes to then taking the clean dishes out and drying. So you, as Rob said, you very well want to look at that stage of cleaning dishes and putting clean dishes away and making sure you're not contaminating things you just sanitized, right? Okay, if customers' backs are turned to each other, can 6 feet work between tables? You know, obviously, Mr. Thiessen, you're safer that way if your backs are turned, but certainly 6 feet is going to be, you know, it depends, you know, there's so many variables. What is the natural flow of air in the room? You know, where is the fan blowing? You know, if we're back to back, and I'm not going to feel real safe in a restaurant right now. I'm not going to sit there. I won't, you know, and that's me. Based on the training that I've had and the things that I read about, I don't think that the back-to-back is going to work. You really want to create 6 feet in between people.
Adding to that, Jim, you don't only think about your guests, you think about your staff. They have to be able to keep 6 foot distance from the guest as well.
That's right. Absolutely right. Very good. Yeah, would it be advisable to serve customers with gloves on? Ooh, we talked about those gloves. It is not advisable to wear gloves when you're serving people because it gives you a false sense of security. And I don't want anyone serving me with rubber gloves. Now, there may be exceptions, right? There are hotels that have the highest standard. And the only thing that I'm going to do as a server is carry ready to eat food to your table. That may be the exception. But as soon as I touch any surface outside of that ready to eat food, I'm not bussing anything. I'm not bringing any water over. As soon as I, you know, and think about just the water jug. You know, many of us share a water pitcher in a restaurant. You know, and every time I touch that pitcher, and then, you know, the person I work with touches that pitcher, a pitcher of water, you know, and in that sense, maybe what we should do is go with wine crafts or water bottles that you can put on the table, as opposed to having to go in and serve people all the time. Gloves give a false sense of security. Chef Rob mentioned that. I've mentioned that. In that little example with the paint earlier. And of course, my fancy cell phone, that's all painted up, right? Let's see, gloves are more reliable to spread germs, that's right. We use only disposable biodegradable plates and cups only at Pirate Secret Beach, from the kitchen to the service and into the bin, each bar. So it makes more acceptable than fine dining. Yeah, so they're using only disposables. Right here, note, here's some misinformation running in Kikaker. If you are not gold standard restaurant, you won't be able to open or serve tourists. That is not true. Tourists can go anywhere they want. Now, we're open. They are recommended to go to gold standard restaurants, absolutely. And if they're doing their research, but we're open. You know, we wish we had more visitors. I run a hands-on cooking Mayan experience, only private tours. Do the guests have to wear masks while cooking for themselves? Are you in the room with them? That would be my question. You know, yeah. If they're in a room all by themselves, do they need to wear masks? No, they don't. But are they traveling, or are the people who aren't wearing masks? You know, those are the questions. As long as there is somebody in the room and they're not traveling together or live together, everybody should have on masks, right? And they're not traveling together. Okay, Rob, I hope we got through those questions. I don't see anything BTB's posting there for us. Rob, I really appreciate you helping out with these gold standards and helping with the lobby efforts with BTB.
Okay, I'm muted again, sorry.
What's that?
I'm muted. Okay, I'm back.
Oh, you're muted?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
Well,
Well, I really appreciate it, man.
What a pleasure is mine. And just for everybody out there who is just like many of us going through hard times, I mean, hang in there, guys. It's not going to be easy, but you can't give up. We're gonna pull through.
Yeah, there's another lady. How about PPEs? Our employer needs to provide us as the employees. Yeah, legally, I think our businesses are supposed to supply PPEs. You know, we should have on hand, and you know, like I said, for emergencies, I would definitely have some N95s. You know, if somebody's got a cough or whatever, I'd give them an N95 and tell them, you know, time to isolate. Zoom you tomorrow. Yep, good. We'll see you all in the morning, our final class. I've been talking to Chef Jenny Stain, who from Elby's, the famous Chef Jenny, and hopefully she's gonna be in the room tomorrow. If she can make it, we're gonna discuss that later on. But thank you all for tuning in and for taking the professional initiative and upgrading your standards and hopefully your staff standards. And oh, there's another question there. If you are gold standard certified, do you still need to certify as gold standard for your gift shop? No, I don't think so. I mean, if it's one business, in this case, you know, a restaurant and gift shop, I wouldn't think so. Again, you know, as Chef Rob pointed out, our food and beverage standards are normally very high anyways if we were practicing proper food safety. And, you know, if you're one of those hotels, obviously, or restaurants, obviously your gift shop is going to have a certain standard as well. So I wouldn't think so. If your restaurant and gift shop are together, I wouldn't think so. I don't think that you're going to learn anything new in a gift shop that you didn't learn here, you know, in food safety or with the gold standard restaurant. And remember, the things we've covered today, this morning and this afternoon, one, it does not replace ServSafe or food handlers. It does not replace the information that's in the gold standard brochure. So we touched on a variety of subjects that surround gold standard, but we didn't go through and teach, you know, line by line what's in that gold standard booklet. So I encourage you to read that and make sure you fill in any blanks that you didn't get in these sessions. I always try to cover information that's a little bit more than the gold standard. That at times that confuses people because I sometimes covered areas that were a higher standard, but they were thinking that it was required in gold standard, but I was just sharing information with them that was you know, circulated in the industry as options. Kind of the same way, like the example I gave this morning with Builders Hardware, doing a really great job with their protocols, but there was nobody there except the ownership and management that said, we're going to have these high standards. We don't need anyone to tell us to do it. So it's kind of like that. There were a lot of things that Chef Rob and I covered, right? There was a question that was missed in regards of staff calling in sick with Social Security cover. As long as they have doctor papers and they file their Social Security and they qualify for Social Security, they would be able to qualify for that benefit if they are genuinely sick, right? Especially now if they are genuine, especially now if they have symptoms. I think it's very, very important that they they get, I have that signal that says your internet connection is low. I don't know what it is here. Another question here. Thank you all very much. Appreciate that. Again, Chef Rob, thank you very much. I'm gonna close this webinar. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning. All right, be safe and lead by example. All right, be a good example to everybody around you, and remember that training, right? Got to tell people, it takes 21 days to make a habit. So encourage people to have good habits. Stay healthy. Thanks, Rob.
See you guys.